And I'm going to tell you her official bio first. So besides that, she's also co-owner of Think House with her husband, Jeremy Maron, which is a co-working space in Midtown. I like to think of Janna and Jeremy as the king and queen of Midtown. I'd like to give them sashes, like some kind of sashes. She also is the publisher of Under the Gum Tree, and that's actually where I first connected with Janna. She had asked me to publish a piece of mine that I had read, and the tagline for Under the Gum Tree is telling stories without shame. And that's something that Janna and I really believe in, and something that's really fueled this series for us. So as a writer, Janna hopes to inspire others to action by telling her personal story. And as a publisher, she hopes to provide others the opportunity to do the same, which I love. And, since Janna and I founded this series, and this is our second year, we made the decision we're not going to be in this series. We really want this series to serve the community. But Janna has an ebook that's out tomorrow that's called How to Manage Depression Without Drugs. And so, I insisted that she be one of our featured readers tonight. So maybe she and I will make an appearance like once a year or something in this series. But I'm thrilled to have her kick off our evening tonight, and I just love all of our readers tonight. And so please welcome Janna Marlies Maron.
I'm a little taller than Elaine is. Thank you, Elaine, and thank you all for being here. I read something recently where somebody said storytelling doesn't exist without the listeners. So that is you guys. So thank you for being here and for letting me share my story. I'm very excited to share it with you. And since this is from my ebook, I'm reading from my iPad. But I do have postcards, and this is what the cover looks like, if you're interested. It is available tomorrow on Apple, iTunes, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. This is from the first chapter of my ebook. My therapist has a mantra. The story I tell myself creates the reality I experience. We talk a lot about personal narrative, how we tell ourselves stories about things and name things. My story was pretty intense for about 3 years. Imagine this. In the short span of 3 years, from early 2010 to the summer of 2012, I filed for bankruptcy, I got laid off from my job, my church shuttered, I got engaged, I had a falling out with my family because of the engagement, I had an episode of optic neuritis, which led to a string of MRIs to monitor for multiple sclerosis, I got married, and ultimately, in June 2012, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. By the time I started seeing a therapist at the end of 2010, I had already filed for bankruptcy and been laid off. The church closing and my engagement were both imminent. No wonder you're depressed, my therapist said to me at our first session. During all of this, the depression was worst in 2010 after the bankruptcy, church closing, getting engaged, which should have been a joyous occasion, and dealing with my family. I couldn't see a way out. I felt like giving up. I spent days in bed. In spite of living in that hole, I knew intellectually that this wasn't me. There had to be a way back to myself, and I started looking for crumbs to that trail. Where else but on Google? The first thing I found was multiple accounts of people talking about how diet drastically affected their mood. Several sources mentioned a book called The Ultra Mind Solution by Dr. Mark Hyman, so I bought it and read it. Dr. Hyman directly links all sorts of mental illness, including Alzheimer's, autism, bipolar disorder, and depression, with what we put in our body. He also writes about how these mental ailments are often symptoms of a larger problem, likely an autoimmune disorder, and he constantly refers to a book called The Autoimmune Epidemic. So I bought that book and read it. It all made sense. The simplified premise is that too much bad stuff in our system causes an imbalance in the gut's bacteria, which leads to what most people call leaky gut. Leaky gut is what happens when the bacteria in the gut are out of balance and cannot prevent toxins from leaking into the bloodstream. This information turned into a double-edged sword. On one hand, it was a beacon of hope. There really was something going on inside my body causing me to feel the way I was feeling. On the other hand, it was utterly hopeless. There was so much information and so much to do that it overwhelmed me. I became more depressed. How could I give things up I loved, like wine and bread and cheese? How could I become the high-maintenance eater who has to order gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, yeast-free, sugar-free? After that list, what's left? How could I be the person who can't eat what everyone else eats? I couldn't. I just knew I couldn't. The story I tell myself creates the reality I experience. In other words, saying I can't is literal, and the outcome is that I won't be able to do the thing that I say I can't do. Now, when I talk about depression, I don't say I'm depressed. I say I have depressive tendencies. That is intentional. Why? It means that if I say I'm depressed, I will be depressed. And so I don't ever say that I'm depressed. I say I have depressive tendencies. There's a difference in meaning. I'm depressed. It's such a definitive statement. It's also a statement of being. I am depressed. It is a thing that I am. Do I want to label myself as one whose being is associated with depression? I have depressive tendencies. This is a statement of possession. It means I own the depression instead of it defining me. It also means that I tend to lean toward depression, but tend is not a definitive state. It means incline toward. But as far as I'm concerned, if someone is inclined toward something, that inclination can easily be changed. I can change my inclination toward depression because it is something I have, and therefore it is something I can control. It is not something I am. Here's another example. In one therapy session, I said that this damn diet I'm on feels like I'm on a hamster wheel, going nowhere, making no progress. My therapist challenged me to change the name I'm giving the diet. Don't call it the hamster wheel, he said. Call it something else. Something more positive, something that tells me I'm going somewhere. Do you want the hamster wheel, he said. No. Well, what do you want? I want someone to tell me that the damn diet is working. That is what I said in my head. But I didn't say anything out loud. Instead, I started crying. What's going on, he said. Why the tears? I don't know right now, I said, which was true. I didn't know right away. What could I call the diet that isn't a hamster wheel? I thought of calling it climbing a mountain, but that doesn't seem to quite do it because even mountain climbers can measure their progress. They choose a mountain to summit and they know the elevation. They know how many miles it is, they can estimate how long it will take to get to the top, and as they go, they know the distance they have covered, how much distance remains. I know how much distance I have covered in terms of time, how long I've been on the diet, but I don't know how much distance remains. And even mountain climbers, when they reach a certain point, can see the top of the mountain. They may not see it when they start, but after a certain point, they can see the top, and it gets closer as they continue. I don't see the top of my mountain. I may never see the top of it. How can I continue without seeing the top? Without knowing the distance that remains? I mean, I can. I can keep going for as long as I want to. It is up to me. It is my choice. It is the story that I tell myself about whether or not I can continue, about what I need to continue. I have told myself that I need to see the top of the mountain, but do I really need to see the top? No, I don't need to, but it sure would help. It sure would give me some of that confirmation I was looking for. Evidence that my belief is true. Proof that the diet is working and also having an effect on the depression. So I started paying attention to how I name things, how I label things. If I call the diet a hamster wheel, then I will experience a hamster wheel. It will feel like I'm running in circles, getting nowhere, making no progress, regardless of whether I am or not. If I call it mountain climbing, will I experience it as climbing a mountain? But mountain climbing implies a definitive destination, which this damn diet doesn't have. I may have to be on the diet for the rest of my life. So mountain climbing? Not sure if that's the best label yet. Maybe exploration, like the early explorers, discovering new lands, not knowing where they will end up, believing that something is there but not knowing what it is and forging ahead to find out. Exploration also requires commitment, determination, and a certain mindset. It also requires preparation and training. But mostly, they were shooting in the dark, weren't they? The modern day equivalent of an explorer might be a spy, like Sydney Bristow from the TV show Alias. A courageous and beautiful American woman who is a double agent for the CIA and also my cat's namesake. How many times was she sent on a mission where she didn't know what she was getting herself into? She trained and prepared as much as she could, but she couldn't possibly know exactly what she would encounter once she got there. She had to explore and discover along the way. For her, every mission is uncharted territory. Can I be Sydney Bristow with my health? It's kind of funny and a little cheesy, but it just might work. Sydney kicks ass. I want to kick depression in the ass. And I'm starting with the hamster wheel. Thank you.